Hello and welcome to Brewers Daily, part of the Fan Arch Podcast Network. I'm your host, Dave Gasper. Welcome to a Thursday show here. The Brewers have their final game against the Detroit Tigers coming up today. We'll get into that and the pitching matchups that the Brewers are going to have today and tomorrow here. Yikes. Also, an update on Quinn Priester we got to get into as well. And Garrett Mitchell, full season under his belt now. But want to start with what happened on Wednesday night here for the Brewers against the Detroit Tigers as they fall 5-2. They had some opportunities there late. They were down by 3, 2 outs in the ninth inning. Bases loaded for Brice Turang, and going up against Kenley Jansen, Turang grounds out to end the game. But, I mean, if you're down by 3 and you got the bases loaded, there's probably no one else I'd rather have up in that situation than Brice Turang. Just didn't end up working out this time, but the Brewers were facing an uphill climb most of this game. And the Brewers, I think, kind of knew it as well, going in with Chad Patrick in this pitching matchup against Casey Mize. So Pat Murphy went with the opener gambit once again, and DL Hall opened this game against the Tigers. And really, by and large, the opener gambit worked, and you set up Chad Patrick, but Patrick just struggled against this Tigers lineup. So DL Hall, he started off by walking the first two batters that he faced in the first inning. So you're thinking, uh-oh, this is not going to be good. This could get ugly very quickly. But then he gets Jahmai Jones to ground into a double play and ends up getting out of the first inning unscathed, no runs across, and makes it through 2 innings. 2 scoreless innings, facing the lefties in that lineup there that first time for the Tigers. So 2 innings, no hits, just those pair of walks and a pair of strikeouts. DL Hall did his job as the opener there. Set it up for Chad Patrick, having to face those guys one last time. But Patrick struggled against a really good Tigers lineup. 4 innings, 4 runs, 6 hits. So you hate to see it there. You can kind of see why it may have been coming, just with what Chad Patrick does well and what the Tigers hitters do well, what they hit well. Those kind of crossed paths there. So I understand why Pat Murphy wanted to protect Chad Patrick a little bit there and go with DL Hall as the opener, and it worked for those 2 innings. And Chad gave you 4, but he put you in a tough spot there, giving up 4 runs. And then, of course, Casey Mize on the other side doing an incredible job of stopping the Brewers hitters. Goes 6 innings, scattering 3 hits, 1 run. And that 1 run was, it was quite the Brewers manufactured run. A 2-out walk to Brice Turang. He steals second base. The next pitch, just a ground ball single up the middle to center field to bring Turang around to score. It was just so Brewers to score a run that way. But that's all that they could scratch across against Mize. So that was a bit of a tough one there. They get another one in the 8th inning off Will Vest, but still, you end up being down there 5-2. I think the important thing here is that you did kind of help protect and save the bullpen a little bit, because you had DL Hall go 2 innings, Patrick went 4, and then Carlos Rodriguez covered the final 2 innings of the game. So you're able to give really kind of all the rest of your main guys a rest out there. You got 6 bullpen guys that were able to get a complete rest day today. When you got a couple of aces coming up the next 2 days, you're not going to have an off day for a little bit here. So that puts you in a pretty decent spot there with the bullpen. So I like that. I like that he went with the opener gambit. Just Chad Patrick wasn't able to have his best stuff, wasn't able to have his best night, and the Tigers end up getting the win. So Brewers offense struggled as well, but the Brewers offense had Garrett Mitchell out there, and yeah, sure, 0 for 3 on the night, but also that was Garrett Mitchell's 162nd game at the major league level. Finally, after making his debut in 2022, we have a 162 game sample size of Garrett Mitchell at the big league level. So obviously the injuries have really cut into his success at the big league level, his chance to develop, his chance to get those reps, our chance to see what he can truly be, and what kind of numbers he can put up over a full season. So we haven't really been able to tell what he can put up over a full season. But now that he has 162 games played, we can sort of get a general idea of what he'd look like over a full season. Now, granted, this is not going to be perfect because this is over the course of 5 seasons that we're getting these 162 games in the sample. But for Garrett Mitchell, his numbers over 162 games, the first 162 games of his career, Mitchell has 448 at-bats. He has 14 home runs. He has 28 stolen bases. He has a 254 batting average, a 346 on base percentage, and a 777 OPS. Those are his career numbers. He also has 25 doubles in there, 6 triples in his career, 62 walks. So he's got some really strong, some really solid overall numbers across those 162 games. Average wise, 254. I mean, those numbers across the board were better than Bryce Terang's first 162 games. So, they're not going to be necessarily the same player, but still, you can see the potential that's in there. You can see it's like, okay, look, Terang, what he is now, you almost couldn't see that the first year that he played in the major leagues. That kind of player didn't exist. Garrett Mitchell is starting off at a higher point through these 162 games. Again, this is over the course of 5 years. This is not a perfect comparison here. But you can just see in the numbers here, the 25 doubles, the 14 homers, the 28 stolen bases, hitting 254, the 777 OPS. I mean, you're in the upper 700s here for OPS across his first 162 games. That's really strong. That's really solid, a great foundation for him to build off of. Now, on the flip side, 179 strikeouts in those 162 games. Little high. The strikeouts certainly are a concern for Mitchell. That is something that is going to need to come down as time goes along here, as he continues to get more reps at the big league level. You got to improve that strikeout rate a little bit. But, I mean, when he does make contact, he hits the ball incredibly hard. So, I would just love to see a complete full season of Garrett Mitchell here. So we don't just have to piecemeal together, 28 games in 22, 19 games in 2023, 69 games in 2024, 25 games last year, and now he's got 21 games under his belt this year, finally getting to 162. I mean, across all those different seasons, it is so hard to actually mesh it together in terms of getting a complete picture of a player. But you have seen some pretty good success so far. He has drawn a ton of walks. The walk rate has been really good. The strikeout rate is certainly a concern, but he gets on base. He's got a 427 on base percentage. One of the top OBPs in the entire league. So he's getting on base. He's able to do damage to the baseball when he does make contact. He's been stealing bases. He's been a threat there, and he's been providing great defense out in center field. So it's just a snapshot, but it's such a good player. And now we finally have a full season's worth, quote unquote, of at-bats to get that kind of first snapshot of Garrett Mitchell. All right. Now we also got to look to another young guy here on the Brewers team, or another guy who's been dealing with injuries, Quinn Priester. So Quinn Priester had the thoracic outlet in the wrist that he had been dealing with throughout spring training, and now he has finally been progressing, and the Brewers put him on rehab assignment to AAA Nashville. So he did his live bullpens out there in Arizona. He has gone to Nashville, and he has joined the Nashville Sounds, and he's going to have a couple of rehab starts out there before rejoining the Brewers rotation at some point early mid-May is what they're thinking, is what they're hoping. But Quinn Priester's first rehab outing with Nashville did not go well. It was bad, horrendously bad. Priester was slated to go like 3-4 innings, around 45, 50-ish pitches, and he ended up going 2/3 of an inning. Did not allow a hit, but 3 walks and a hit batter. All 4 of them came around to score. He got 2 strikeouts, great, cool, but he lasted 29 pitches, and 12 of them were strikes. So he did not do well. The command was not there, clearly, with all the walks. And they had to get him out of there. Brought Strzelecki in. He allowed a grand slam. So it was a tough night for the Nashville Sounds. But still, Quinn Priester, you're hoping for a little bit better there in the first outing. I know, like, with rehab outings, the results don't necessarily matter. Like, we heard about this a lot with Brandon Woodruff last year. Like, the actual, like, game results don't really matter for rehabbing pitchers. What matters is getting your pitches in, getting the ups, getting the up downs, getting the innings in, and building up that workload. Priester didn't get that. He was supposed to go much deeper into this game. I mean, he's not supposed to go 5-6 innings yet, but still supposed to go 3 innings, 45-ish pitches, and he ends up going 30 in 2/3 of an inning, and it was just not great. So I think the original plan was another 3 rehab outings for Quinn Priester. Maybe we'll see that get pushed to 4. Who knows? But still, for him, I mean, I believe with pitchers, you got 30 days on a rehab assignment before you have to activate them. So they still can afford to put some extra time in there and give him an extra start in the minor leagues. It provided things get on the right track. But you need to have him not get pulled from the game in the first inning. So that was a tough one to watch there for that first rehab outing for Quinn Priester, because you're really hoping for a lot from this guy for the Brewers rotation this year. So you're missing him this first stretch of the season. You'd love to get him back in there and get him right again, because when he's right, the Brewers win quite a bit, as we saw last season. So just kind of a tough one, but it's the first rehab outing. Hopefully next time it'll end up going better, but really struggled that first time out and did not get the up downs that he was supposed to be getting. So that's tough news there for the Brewers. And also tough news for the Brewers is looking at the schedule coming up that they have today and tomorrow. It is absolutely brutal, because today for the Brewers, you are facing Tarik Skubal, the reigning American League Cy Young winner. 2-time reigning American League Cy Young winner. Tarik Skubal is going to be on the mound for the Detroit Tigers for this series finale. You have Brandon Sproat on the mound. Sproat's been pitching well as of late, but I'm not going to go out on a limb here, but I'm going to say Brandon Sproat is not quite as good as Tarik Skubal. So you're facing that. And then it's like, okay, well, then we're done with the Tiger series. You return home for some home cooking. You're facing the Pirates. And guess who's on the mound? Paul Skeens, the reigning National League Cy Young winner. So you got 2 days, back-to-back days, today and tomorrow here, where the Brewers are facing the reigning American League and National League Cy Young winners. That's going to be a tough couple of days here for the Brewers offense. The hitters, like, they put up 12 runs on Tuesday night, having a great night against the Detroit Tigers, getting the offense rolling. They're going to have to try and get the offense rolling here this time, because, this could be a long next 2 days here, next 2 games. And just kind of keep in mind, as fans have been known to do, being critical of the team if they don't perform well offensively. Keep in mind, these are the reigning Cy Young winners, okay? So if you don't perform well against them, it's certainly no shade against your own guys. I mean, those pitchers are just phenomenal. Now, also, I do remember last year when the Brewers faced Paul Skeens at American Family Field, and it was Skeens versus Jacob Misiorowski, your 2 pitching phenoms that everyone was looking forward to. And the Brewers chased Skeens very early in that game, and they played very well against him. So maybe the same thing could be in order. Who knows? We'll see. We'll hope for that. Absolutely. But first up, the Brewers got to get through Tarik Skubal on Thursday here and try and win the rubber match against the Detroit Tigers. So that's what's coming up here today. And it should be a fun one. It absolutely should. If you enjoy really good pitching, you're going to be seeing it from Tarik Skubal here. And then also on Friday, when Paul Skeens is on the mound, and the Brewers will have Brandon Woodruff. So it's not going to be lined up as Miz versus Skeens again. Miz is going to be Saturday, so just off by 1 day. So that is a little bit unfortunate, but I mean, Brandon Woodruff is no slouch. I mean, he is your veteran guy to put up there against Paul Skeens. So that's going to be electric as well on Friday night. So looking forward to it, but the Brewers got to get through one more game in Detroit before they return home for some home cooking at American Family Field. Be sure to subscribe to Brewers Daily if you enjoyed it. Get notified every single time a new episode drops. And also, if you enjoyed it, feel free to drop a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, where we are on both of those places as well. Follow me on Twitter at dgasper24. Appreciate all of you watching, and we'll see you again next time for another episode of Brewers Daily.